Dear all students, the classes what we have done since last 2 days. Some questions have received from your end by the WhatsApp. Let us, I am going to clarify your doubts. Some students have asked silly questions relating to the metalloids. One is called the atomic number of silicon and germanium along with their electronic configurations that already I have discussed. Silicon possesses the atomic number 14, germanium have the atomic number 32. So in silicon, if you are going to take the electronic configuration, K cell occupies 2 number of electron, Al cell occupies 8 number of electron, remaining 4 are at the Am cell. So that you can say silicon is a tetravalent element and valency of silicon is said to be 4. Let me have you clarified, of course. Similarly, germanium has the atomic number said to be 32 and that can be occupied similarly in K cell 2 electrons, L cell 10 electrons, then Am cell 18 electrons, then the N cell is empty that occupies by 6 number of electrons. That is called 4 number of electrons. Hence you can see germanium is also called a tetravalent element. Both the silicon and germanium has the valency of 4. And relating to atomic mass, a student has asked what is the mass number of germanium? Why the mass number of germanium is not fixed and the mass number of silicon also not fixed. Remember, the atomic mass is not fixed of the elements. Those who have same atomic number of same element possesses different neutrons they have. So we know that isotopes, those have isotopes. We know that germanium have 23 number of isotopes they have. So and silicon have similarly 5 number of isotopes. That you remember, so that silicon having the, you can see silicon having the atomic number is 14. So the mass number generally we are taking, which is more stable, we are taking 28. So that silicon has, we can see the silicon has 23 number of isotope it has. Silicon has the atomic number of 14 and the mass number is varies from 22 to 44. 22 unit to 44 unit it is varying because of it has 23 number of isotope it has. What do you mean by isotope now? The same atomic number of same element with having different number of neutrons or different mass number. So that silicon varies with a different mass number. That is because of silicon has 23 isotopes. We can see that though the number of electron is not changing, but the number of neutron is changing, automatically the mass number going to be changed. We know that the mass number is called the mass of the nucleus, that is called the existence of a number of protons along with the number of neutrons. Number of electrons is equal to number of protons, but neutron is varying. So that the mass number is automatically going to be changed. Though not only the silicon and germanium, those elements have the mass number is changes, but the atomic number does not change. They are called the variable mass number they have because due to isotopes. Generally remember, germanium has 5 isotopes and the atomic mass is said to be, you may tell 70, some may tell 72 or 73 or 74 or 76. But remember, accordingly remember the number of electrons always remains same. Germanium, the number of electron is 32, but mass number is varying. So because of the number of neutrons is varying. Maybe I am anticipating, of course, the maybe clarified yourself. Secondly, remember, somebody asked, remember, with respect to health hazard, germanium is more metallic behavior than silicon because of the largest are called the germanium. Germanium is in the semiconductor industry when doped with a small amount of maybe say arsenic or gallium or indium or like this TBM, they are going to add as a doping agents used for different type of semiconductor industries, said to be designing a PN junction diode or transistor or used for creating the other alloys, or you are using also phosphor in the fluorescent lamp by the germanium. So another thing, some question is asked by a student, what is the resistivity of germanium? the resistivity of germanium is less than the resistivity of silicon. Resistivity of germanium is 60 ohm cm, whereas we can see the resistivity of silicon is said to be 6000 ohm cm. So that the resistivity of silicon is much more higher than the resistivity of germanium. How many times higher? Approximately said to be, you can say, 100 times higher. So accordingly remember, so silicon with the resistivity measured by 60 ohm cm, or you can say the silicon having the 6000 ohm cm, germanium having the 60 ohm cm. Similarly remember, somebody asked the question, who invented and when invented the silicon and germanium. This is of course a GK. So silicon is invented in 1824 by J.J. Berzelius, and whereas germanium is invented by 1886 by the Winkler of Germany. So its existence but given by the Mendeleevs. Its existence in Earth as given by the Mendeleevs. So if somebody asks you relating to the silicon and germanium discovery, you can say one silicon has been discovered in 1824 and germanium was discovered in 1886 by Winkler, and silicon was discovered by J.J. Berzelius. That you have to remember. Remember one more thing, somebody asked essential that asked that is silicon or germanium is good for, you can say, asked like this, they are good for health or not, or the health hazard. Remember now that you can, the common questions are there. The germanium is quite more, but found in the earth about 1.6 parts per millions, whereas you have to remember the melting point of germanium is 937.4 degrees Celsius, whereas the boiling point is said to be 2830 degrees Celsius, and the density of germanium is 5.323 gram per cubic cm. Somebody has asked what is the melting point of silicon. That question also we get back. The melting point of silicon is said to be 1414 degrees Celsius. So now remember, according to the health hazard question which arises, we are not belongs to medical line students. Even if remember, as for your clarification is concerns, germanium is not found in the free element in nature. That you remember. Germanium is said to be get back found in the germanite, another you can say the erogerites or some zinc ore. It is also present in coal. Its presence in coal ensures the resources for many years. That you remember. Or germanium is said to be, with respect to health hazard question arises, we come to know that germanium is likely unsafe when we are taken by the mouth in elemental form, because in form of certain compounds such as germanium is going to formed by germanium oxide, they have been more than 30, you can say, represents the people are failed by the kidney failure of course. And remember, also death linked to that kidney failure with use of these forms of germanium. It build up in the body also for, though it helps us for build up our body construction, even if it damages to the vital organs of the said to be the kidney of the peoples. That is one more thing you have to remember. So that germanium is more metallic behavior than the silicon, already have told you. That you can see the largest use of germanium in the semiconductor industry are adopted with some of the impurity elements to develop their current density, and then and there were utilizing for various designs. Let us see now another thing. Remember, with respect to these already known, germanium be, you can say, beneficial for health or not. Germanium may be beneficial for health, including which improves the immune system of our body. But oxygen supply in the bodies also helps, and destroying the free radicals. It is going to supply the oxygen frequently with destroying the free radicals. It also, remember, been considered in treatment of the allergies, asthma, or you can say like this, the HIV people who are affected by the AIDS or that viruses, or you can say cancer also, we are going to using the germanium. But even if though they are the beneficial, even if there is a demerits, that means the chances are there the main organ is said to be kidney is going to failure. That is a disadvantage. But beneficial also disadvantage, both can be takes place. So you cannot say the disadvantage only, both sides you have to look after. Similarly, germanium, you can see with respect to some students ask with respect to the properties. Germanium is called a, you can say, semiconductor device. Germanium is called a metalloid. Silicon is also a metalloid. That is, remember, the grey white colors and semi-metallic elements with crystalline and brittle in structure there. Though that luxurious property also holds good in case of germanium. It is, you can say, remember, it is a semiconductor chips. And another thing remember, second things, at the room temperature, what happens, according to question is concerned, at room temperature, the silicon crystal has fewer free electrons than the germanium crystal. However, silicon crystals are not early damaged by the excess heat of real intrinsic, the inverse voltage rating of silicon. This remember, so in silicon is less expensive due to greater abundance element in the earth we are getting back. So pure germanium, already I have told you already, for pure germanium silicon, what is the resistivity? Already that question answer already I have given. The resistivity for germanium is 60 ohm cm, whereas resistivity for silicon is equal to 6000 ohm cm, that already I have given you. And maybe you have followed, of course. Another question, the student has been asked like that, the silicon is toxic or not? Silicon is non-toxic, whereas germanium just opposite. As we can see that silicon is non-toxic as the element and in all its neutral forms. And you can see that you can get back it from the silica or you can silicates, which is most abundant. So elemental silicon is an inert material which appears a lack of property of, you can say, the fibrosis or causing fibrosis in the is our lungs tissue, and also silicon may cause the chronic respiratory effect. So conclusion is there, both the germanium silicon possesses advantages and disadvantages with respect to our health concerns. Another thing, remember, question has been asked by students, so 2 times the question has been, this class has been taken with respect to current density development. Why not intrinsic useful for semiconductor industry? So intrinsic semiconductor are not useful for the industries because of it has the low current density values. So that according to a desired level, we cannot get back the current density to get back the result to fruitful practically. Followed? So to develop the current density, the doping agents or the dopants or the impurities going to add with that intrinsic one, so that the extrinsic semiconductor useful for practically. Another the question is there, what is the mobility of a carrier? What is the carrier? We are dealing with a charge carrier. So mobility of a charge carrier relating with respect to the average drift speed of electrons with respect to electric field. Whenever electron is moving from one end to other ends, that has to possess a velocity or a speed. That average speed you have to find out and take the ratio of average speed of the drift speed to the establishing of electric charge. Then you can say the ratio is called mobilities. Then the question is there, what can you define the current density? Normally remember, it is a common question for electricity is the current density can be evaluated the amount of currents with respect to their areas. So amount of currents divided by, you can say, the cross sectional area, you can get back the current densities. Similarly, you can say what is called the conductivities, because you have to deal with the conductivity to develop. So as the resistivity to overcome this one, conductivity should be developed in any cases. So the conductivity is the ratio between the current density to electric field. So I can say maybe, of course, your doubt has been clear. Second, next question some student have asked, the total amount of the current density or the get back from the intrinsic semiconductor is depends upon which one? Depends upon both the carrier, because of, you remember, I told you the number of charge carrier or number of holes is equal to number of electrons in case of intrinsic semiconductor, so that the total current is equal to also either IH or is equal to IE. The holes currents are equal to electrons currents. But the total current densities in case of an extrinsic semiconductor depend upon which one? Depend upon both the charge carriers. That you can say that whenever you are dealing with the two type of, then P type or N type, there remember depending upon the majority carrier, whole of the current depend upon that. This is also that question already been solved in mathematically, but maybe some question has been asked. I am anticipating when the question has been solved by the now maybe the doubt may be clear. So that remember, another the question has been asked, how PN junction be prepared? Let us see now. Normally hand to hand we cannot take the p type material, we can take the n type material, can it join? No. So remember, technologically you can say the fabricated interface of p type extrinsic semiconductor and the n type extrinsic semiconductor is going to make it a metallic forms, so that is called as solids. Puchela, we can join it. It is a single crystals. It is single crystals of solids with accompanying with the p type and n type semiconductor, and doping with the suitable with the donor and acceptor dopants, that you can say already I have told you the trivalent and pentavalent impurities, so that the opposite free charges appear in the two sides of the junctions. This much only. Then some question has been asked by the students, what is the barrier potential for silicon? What should be the barrier potential of germanium without applying of electric field? Whenever you are considering about the PN junction, there remember the barrier potential is 0.7 volt for silicon and the barrier potential is 0.3 volt for germanium. That automatically created at the junctions due to neutralization between the whole electron takes place easily. Then you see, we can see that regions at the junction side, both the sides of junction, that layer, that width is called the depletion layer. That depletion layer, where electron, one side the electrons is followed towards the path to occupying the hole, then that region, the n region, will be lack of electrons. Some electron has been lost. That electron has been neutralized to the holes. Due to this one, deficiency of electron causes the positive charges near to that junction. Holes has been accepted the electrons, so surplus of electron takes place, so that junction to near the positive negative charges will be created. Let us see now, surplus of electron creates negative charges, and so deficiency of electron creates positive charges. So look at here, due to existence the positive negative, there must be establishment of electric field. That electric field you got along with a space, that neutralization space you are getting, the depletion less, take it the ratio electric field to that space, what width is there, then you can get back the total amount of voltage which is set with the barrier potential. That barrier potential will be different for germanium and silicon. That is said to be the barrier potential for silicon is 0.7 volt and barrier potential for germanium is 0.3 volt. That you have to remember. To overcome this barrier potential, what to do? For this purpose, some students have asked, sir, how can you overcome this barrier potential? You can overcome this barrier potential with applying the suitable voltages. That means the PN junction, either it will be in forward biasing mode or it may be reverse biasing mode. Suitable voltage should be applied, or else how the electron is go towards the other end of the holes to occupy. The neutralization should have to take place not easily, because that is far away from the junctions, because the layer is there, the depth is there. To overcome this depth, we have to apply some voltage to pull to both the sides. We have to just apply the forces to electron side and hole side, they will come nearer to the close in contact to the depletion layer. If they come in contact to that point, automatically they will be neutralized. After this one, the electron and holes pair takes place automatically due to application of sources. Depending upon your connection practically, the sources you have, the positive part is connected to P side, the battery having the negative polarity connected to N type, it is called forward biased. Just vice versa, the negative polarity connected to the P side, just opposite to the P side, and positive connected to N side, then automatically remember what happened, just you can repel to each other and the depletion layer is much and more. So you remember that in case of forward biasing, the potential barrier decreases and the depletion layer also decreases and the junction offers very low resistance. So easily the current can flow. So a very low resistance is going to be in case of a forward biasing. But in case of reverse biasing, just opposite. Reverse biasing, the polarity you are changing of the batteries. So remember, like charges is going to repel each other. Unlike charges going to attract each other, the barrier will be widened, so it will be much more. The barrier potential increases and the diffusion regions, in that remember the depletion region or the weight is also enhanced, going to widens. Similarly, the junction offers high resistance, so a very low reverse current is going to flow. So accordingly, with respect to the comparison, which will be useful? Useful is said to be forward biasing mode. In case of forward biasing mode, remember the depletion layer easily can overcome, and you can say current can easily flows, and we can act it as a unidirectional device when P is positive with respect to N side, with your overcome this barrier potential. So remember, this is very useful for you practically to apply. Like this, a semiconductor is applying. Let us see now, in case of all these cases, what we have, three type of currents we are getting. One question has been asked by students, what is called the drift currents, then diffusion currents, as well as conventional currents. You remember, first of all, PN junction will be forward biased or reverse biased. Forward biasing takes place in case of forward biasing, current establishes, current flows from plus to minus P to N. But you can say in case of reverse biasing, little bit current is going to flow because the width is widened. But here remember, reverse current increases with increase of temperatures. One more thing, just remember, reverse biasing current increases with increase of temperature because of more number of covalent bonds break due to increase in, you can say, thermal energy. As long as the temperature increases, the quantity of thermal energy developed, so that the covalent bonds will be break. So remember, the reverse biasing current going to be more and more. So temperature is an important factor for operation of semiconductor devices also. So the questions, according to questions you have given, somebody has sent me, I have asked the question assignment in the last class, but somebody has also once again replied me like that. They have told me it's a distinguish between the drift current and you can say the diffusion current along with the conventional currents. Remember, what is a drift current? Drift velocity you know, drift speed you know, one is movable. Then the drift speed occurs. Who is movable? Electrons is going to movables. Let us see now. The drift current is due to the motion of the charges in response to the electric field. In response to the electric field, due to motion of charges, due to an applied potential difference along the two terminals. As long as the terminal is forward biased, you are applying a source, then and there must be a motion of charges. Then these motion of charges in response to your electric field establishes due to only occurs due to applied voltage. So it is the usual way for producing the drift current easily. So remember now, electrical or you can say electronic devices, these drift current will be taken place. So it can be due to flow of you can say the electrons or holes, and forward or reverse biasing current is in an extrinsic semiconductor due to applied voltage creates the drift currents. So what is a diffusion current now? Remember, diffusion current takes place. You are not applying any sort of source. If you are taking a PN junction, simple. P-type material fabricated with N-type materials, by interfacings you will get a single crystals. These crystals near to that junction joining point, the electron hole pair takes place easily. So the near to that junction, not on the other ends. Then remember now we can say the diffusion current is due to diffusion of charge carriers from higher concentration region to lower concentration regions. You can also say me that the depletion layer widen will be lesser and least if you are going to add the more concentration, if you are going to add to the more doping agents. But here what is the diffusion current now? How can you define? The diffusion current is due to diffusion of the charge carrier from higher concentration to the lower concentration region of a crystal lattice in solids and semiconductors. For diffusion current, applied voltage is not essential at all. So either the electrons or holes will be diffuse each other, neutralize each other, and make a electron hole pair at the junction point. And when the one side is higher concentration than the other, this automatically occurs. The diffusion current is actually not useful at all, only to create a barrier. Then what is the conventional current? Already known. Conventional current is just already in electricity I have given you. One more thing, some more students ask you that sir, already you have taught the vacuum tubes and the semiconductor diodes. Vacuum diode and semiconductor diode. What is the difference there? remember, there are some not only advantages point of view, also there are some disadvantages also. More advantages are there. The semiconductor chips are very small in size and used in industries and any semiconductor devices, and it is very portable. We can keep it with us in our pocket also. But you can see the vacuum diodes are very high, made of a glass or metal, and very difficult to carry from one end to other ends. Another thing, remember, in case of semiconductors diode, no heating element is required, and though the heating element is not required, the power consumption is said to be very less. Hence, it has a long life. Those sequences substances has not power consumption is less, they have automatically long life. So, because of not due to non-existence of heating element, semiconductor the diode is much more better than the vacuum diodes. In every vacuum diode, there must be a heating element. Cathode should be heated. Already I have told you. Also remember, at a very low DC voltage, the semiconductor diode can be operated. Current can be supplied, even just like in dry cell, you can say. Similarly, as there is no filament, its response to the time is very small. These are the advantages of the semiconductor diode compared to vacuum diodes. So what are the disadvantages now? You can say extremely, remember, it is extremely heat sensitive. Why? A slight increase in temperatures increases the current appreciably. This is one disadvantage. Another thing, it can handle only the small currents and a low inverse voltage for compared to the vacuum diode. Another thing, it cannot be withstand overload even for a short period. These are the disadvantages of both semiconductor and vacuum diode. Dear students, these questions when you are asking, the chapters you have completed in that time you have to ask, but that time you are remaining silent, and what assignment I am giving, you are not responding. Hence the problem is arising in after the completion of 2 or 3 forwarded classes is there. Hence I am going to remind you once again, when the classes are going on, be attentive and also try to do make the notes with the help of your textbook and any other things, or take the help of net also. Or similarly, then the assignment paper you have to keep with you. Also send me by my WhatsApp. I have to check it. If any wrong is there, I can clear it. So then you can say this online classes you will be beneficial on that, because what the classes are going on in online classes, you don't think it will be 1 second we will go start from the beginning. We never start from the beginning. Only your doubt can be completed. Hence be careful that and try to make the notes what we are making, and on that, on the same date or the next date, you may ask the questions, because to complete the syllabus is not important. Our motto to complete the syllabus, and my students must be receive minimum 70% what I am teaching. 70% should have to receive. Your response is most anticipated, and because of if you remain silent without giving the assignment, also I know that more and more students are not joining. What the problem is there? Some students have no mobile phone. Tell them to come to your nearby localities. To those students are nearby, so they can have to read with them also. They can share with them. Nothing problem there, because our the rural belt college is there. The students may not have mobile also. So try to take share with the other students, and also try to put the assignment with you and keep on records, so that easily before the exam you can follow chapter wise according to syllabus whether the teacher is going or not, or then similarly you can come to know. It will be helpful to you in exams. That is very important. Then remember, also try to introduce your classmates or nearby locality, those are already going to be passed on 10th, to enter to this vocational education, because government is providing with the free of cost admission, very least amount of takings, no tuition fees for all students, no SST people are not paying anything. Take the advantages of this, as government has launched this one, government vocational higher secondary school, merged with, you can say, Pavitranagar higher secondary school. Take the advantage of that. At a low cost, you can get back much more benefits, and you will be skilled, you will be practically well off. That is my more advice to you. Try to tell your friends or your brothers, those who are now already given the HSC exam, the result is going to declare very shortly. After that, they should enroll their name, they should apply on the form, the fewer seats are there, so that is also, that circulation can be done by you. And remember, in the next class we will start a new chapters relating to, already I have told you, that is called the transistor. Okay, that is also a semiconductor chips. We have to use it. Thank you very much, dear students, and be care and take care of your health also. And try to take the concentration every online classes, because now you are the students. Nearby future you will be a teacher also. At that time, nothing problems will be arise to you to clarify to your small kids if they ask you the questions. We are always take care of you. Thank you very much. And the online class is going on, but how far you are following? Also, you are getting some low response. Also, try to develop this response and easily confirm us, so that will be very much appreciate on you, that will be internally will be happy that my students are following. Thank you very much, dear son. Thanks today, and just wait for the next class. Tomorrow it will be going to bed. Thank you.